Hi, my name is Grant Metzger, one of the hardware engineers for the Intel desktop motherboard team. By now you've heard the buzzword on the net, Thunderbolt, and as opposed to just reading about it, we thought maybe we'd do a little demo and look at some of the results and talk about the devices that are out there. Several good reviews out there. Just read one the other day on some website named after a guy, I believe his name is Tom. Very in-depth review on there. But let's do a little hands-on and compare some of the devices from the different manufacturers we have using an Intel design motherboard, the DZ77RE-75K. Some of the devices we're going to be looking at today are basically storage devices. We do have a monitor that goes as well with it, but we have RAID configured devices such as a single drive bay which contains 2 hard drives which we have RAIDed together. We can daisy chain those. One of the benefits of Thunderbolt is simply by adding in the extra cables and daisy chaining numerous devices. We can have up to 6 of these on one Thunderbolt port, as well as passing through the video for DisplayPort. So, very good chain, very nice. So now we'll do some benchmarking. We'll look at a single bay, a single drive unit. We'll look at 3 of them together. We'll look at one of these, which is basically a large storage box, which has 4 hard drives in a RAID array. So we can look at the difference in the transfer rates. We'll use a common program from the internet to benchmark them. Alright, so we're going to start with some simple benchmarking of some Thunderbolt add-on storage devices. We'll start simply with this very small LaCie drive, which is 2 spinning drives in a RAID 0 configuration, giving us roughly a terabyte of storage space. We'll use CrystalMark, simple benchmarking program available on the internet. Anybody can get it and use it. We're going to start with 3 iterations of reads and writes using 100 megabyte files. And we'll be able to see what the transfer rates are in this configuration. So what we can see now is using 3 repetitions of read and write. We're storing 216 on the read, 216 megabytes per second, and 207 megabytes per second write speed. Compare that to USB 2.0, USB 3.0. We're running 4-5 times easily the transfer rates of those devices. They don't take away from each other, they complement each other. USB is slightly more portable. This is a little faster, meant for your desktop. So these are the numbers we get running with our Intel board, DZ77RE-75K in this configuration. Now we're going to switch and we're going to run 3 devices daisy chained together and take a look at the numbers. Identical configuration on each of the boxes. We're just going to daisy chain them and make one large RAID array. Okay, we've reconfigured the setup here for Thunderbolt testing on the Intel Design DZ77RE-75K motherboard. We've gone to a configuration of 3 LaCie drives in a daisy chain on the Thunderbolt port. Each drive is set up as a RAID 0, and we've taken and we've striped those 3 drives together. And now we're going to run the same CrystalMark benchmark, same parameters, 100 megabyte file, 3 iterations of read and write, and do a comparison of the numbers between a single bag and 3 bag drives. Okay, so we can see the end result of having the 3 drives daisy chained off the Thunderbolt port running the benchmark in the same configuration. We're now up at 503 megabytes per second for read speed and 476 for the write speed, as compared to our previous results on a single drive of 216 read and 207 write. Okay, we've reconfigured the setup on our DZ77RE-75K Thunderbolt testing configuration. We've previously looked at a single external Thunderbolt drive. We've looked at 3 Thunderbolt drives chained together. We're going to go back to one drive configuration. The other previous configurations were all using spinning magnetic media, older forms of hard drives. This system happens to have, this unit simply has SSDs in it. Same configuration, RAID 0, striped, and we'll rerun the same benchmark using the same parameters. We have our results now on the external Thunderbolt drive, which is using two SSDs in a RAID 0 stripe configuration. And we can see our numbers now for read are up to 447 megabytes per second compared to a single spinning drive of 216. And our write speed is 296 megabytes per second as opposed to the single drive spinning of 207 megabytes per second. Numbers get faster, SSDs are faster than spinning drives, benchmarks get better. Reconfigured our Thunderbolt test setup using the Intel DZ77RE-75K board. We've now switched over to a Promise Technology Pegasus R4 system. This system consists of 4 drive bays, which in this case have 2 terabyte drives in each bay. Also, as compared to the smaller LaCie drives, which are SATA 2, good for 3 gigabits per second, this is SATA 3, good for 6 gigabits per second transfer speeds. So we're going to go ahead and run the same exact benchmark on the Pegasus box to see what the numbers come out as. Okay, we've got our results on the Pegasus R4 box from Promise Technology in a RAID 0 stripe configuration using 2 terabyte drives, SATA 3, 6 gigabits per second. We're now looking at a read speed of 700 megabytes per second and write speeds of over 600 megabytes per second. Compare those to the previous results. We've gone from as low as 216 megabytes per second for read up to 700. USB would limit you at about 50 megabytes per second. So you can see the benefit of transferring large files. Imagine backing up your computer system and being able to save the data that quickly. Alright, so we're going to take a look at the Seagate GoFlex Thunderbolt adapter. Bus powered device, no AC plug required for it. Pulls power from the Thunderbolt port off of our DZ77RE-75K Intel design motherboard. We can just use it like a dock. Imagine taking your hard drives, nice and simple, slip it in your pocket, take it to work, bring it home, connect it up to the drive bay, there's your drive. You can take that one off, stick another one on, transfer data between this drive, between our RAID arrays, everything's fine and happy. Alright, so we've seen the comparison, testing, benchmarking, a few different manufacturers' parts on the DZ77RE-75K Intel design motherboard with a Thunderbolt port on it. You can see we actually have physically hooked up 6 devices right now, including, throughout all this testing, we've also had a Thunderbolt capable monitor daisy chained to the end of there. So not only have we been benchmarking the hard drives, the storage devices, seeing them work in a hot plug and play configuration, we've also been displaying graphics through the Thunderbolt port because Thunderbolt can pass PCIe for control of devices like this or other devices, as well as DisplayPort. Again, you can find a very good review out there on the web. You can find a lot of information. There is specific groups. ThunderboltTechnology.net will give you information on how Thunderbolt works, as well as talk to you about all the devices that are coming out. We're seeing, on average, a new device from a new manufacturer being added to that Thunderbolt capable list on a weekly basis. Devices out there, and manufacturers are coming out with those. There's going to be numerous type devices besides just storage. There's a company out there who's working on a bay that'll look similar to one of these, but inside of that it'll have PCIe slots. So now you can take that bay, add in any PCIe type card, and be able to use it across the Thunderbolt port. Simply install the drivers, have an external graphics card. Install the drivers, have an external sound card. Those of us that have a large storage of pictures, home movies, music, will find that being able to transfer at these rates really speeds up our data handling. Myself, I'm looking forward to 10 gigabit Ethernet. 10 gigabit Thunderbolt, 10 gigabit Ethernet. I can't wait to have that in my house, simply because I'll no longer be streaming data, I'm going to be screaming data.